It's Monday, which means it's another book review, and it's also the last day of the semester review. Woo! I know, 4 English classes in a single semester is intense. And yes, this is 2 separate white shirts. So the last course I took was Shakespeare. There were 3 tragedies, 2 comedies, 1 history, and 1 contemporary piece. So the first piece we read was the comedy of Midsummer Night's Dream. Now I've read this piece twice before, and each time I read the piece, I actually like it less. So about the third time you have to read Helena going, "I am your spaniel," you pretty much want to slap her across the face. A Midsummer Night's Dream is definitely like a high school drama. So if you definitely like the high school style stories and the high school style romances, then you should definitely pick up A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's fantasy based. It's the most fantasy based of Shakespeare's plays, but it's easily applied to something like high school. So the next piece we read is one of my favorite Shakespeare plays of all time. It's Hamlet, and I will talk about Hamlet to anyone. Ow. That again. I will talk about Hamlet with anyone. All you have to do is leave a comment below, and I will answer your questions about what I think Hamlet's about, the themes, motifs, characters, whatever you want, because I love reading Hamlet. I've also read Hamlet like 7 times, and none of the times were voluntarily. This shirt is so big. How is anyone supposed to know it's actually my shirt? The next thing we read is the contemporary piece, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. No, that was not written by Shakespeare. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead is written by Tom Stoppard. It takes the minor characters Rosencrantz and Guildenstern and tells their story through the play of Hamlet. I can't say I cared for Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead that much, but my friend Mike in the class really liked it, and he's really big into existentialism, and he felt this piece was a great example of that. So if you like existentialism, you should probably pick up Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. So the next play we had to read was the history play Richard III. If you can't tell by my voice, I'm an American, which means our history starts around 1775, which is just a little bit before the Plantagenet. So the first time I read Richard III, I was a senior in high school. We spent about 2 days on the history of the play, and the play made a lot of sense. This is the second time I read Richard III. The semester before, I had actually taken a History of Britain and Ireland course that ended with Richard III. So I knew more about what was going on in the play than most of the people in the class, but our teacher did not take the time to explain it to the rest of the class. So a lot of people ended up being really lost because they just didn't have the historical background. So we went from the history play of Richard III to the tragedy of Othello, which is the one play, aside from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, that I actually hadn't read prior to this. So Othello is another one of Shakespeare's romantic tragedies. This time, it's a relationship between a Moor and a fair maiden. You can tell Othello is black and Desdemona is white. Basically, Othello kills Desdemona. Spoiler alert! Probably should have said that before. Then again, I did say it was a tragedy, written by Shakespeare. I'm not a big fan of romantic tragedies. Dying for love doesn't appeal to me, but, you know, if that's what you like, then go read Othello. From Othello, we went to the comedy Twelfth Night. Basically, the main character Viola gets shipwrecked in the island of Lear, where she has to pretend to be a guy named Cesario because she's all alone. And from there, chaos and comedy ensue. I'm a bird, it's a storm! And a storm is appropriate for the next play, which is King Lear. So I know a lot of people who say King Lear is a better play than Hamlet, but I noticed all these people have one thing in common. They're really, really old. Well, not really, really old. They're like not in their 20s, or 30s, or 40s, or 50s. King Lear is a play about evil children, or at least 2/3 of your children being evil. This concludes the Shakespeare plays, which also concludes the semester reviews, which means I will be back with more books on Monday that I did not have to read this semester. Then you can be like, wow, how can you say that book was terrible? And I can say, because.